What's shaking, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Soft Cell. And we're going to This Last Night in Sodom, 1984. And the next tune is The Best Way to Kill. Sounds intense, and given the way the last track was more or less literal, once I had the framing of the phrasing correct, yeah, ultimately I would expect this to maybe be in the same territory. At the very least, kill would represent something significant, so even if you're just killing someone's personal life or something, I would imagine there is a violence to it. So let's find out what it is. This is Soft Cell. The tune is The Best Way to Kill, and it's from their 1984 album, This Last Night in Sodom.
Like poison in an unhealed wound, multiply, tell a little lie to pull the wool over God's little eye before he makes up his mind. And that wouldn't do. Like this one long play for the day, the one that chooses over four-letter words, the one that everybody pretends they've never heard. Oh yeah, yeah. Your two fingers up at the world and the lying little worms that will take you for a fool. For your life has to be this way, and you can't say this and you can't watch that. It'll darken your mind, little child. Moral straight jacket to stop you running completely wild. Oh yeah.
It's like a tidal wave. That's funny. Like a jump scare. Insane. I love it. It's interesting. Like, in one limited respect, there were layers of that felt like this twisted, warped inversion of a Motown tune. It had sort of this, like, a little bit of a sing-songy, dance-along quality, but like the wider surrounding atmosphere was this heavy, warped, unpleasant type of atmosphere, like sonic environment. So I enjoy the way it was like, it seemed at cross purposes, and the idea of maybe, someone growing up being told this and that and treated this way and that way, all on the premise that, that's how things are supposed to be, when in fact it's an absolute nightmare. And it's perhaps one way to kill a person is, to put them in a moral straitjacket where you're not allowed to listen to this and don't do this, and you're supposed to be here and you're supposed to do this. And it's just stifling and awful, and not in any way a sense of true freedom or independence. So it sounds personal. It sounds like maybe some things drawn from Mark's life. It also feels like something that probably all too many people go through, whether at home or out in society, probably both in many cases. And it feels like as it goes along, I don't know, the idea of killing could go either way. And he's essentially like asking you sitting at home, like, what's the best way to kill? But it feels like, it could be like the ticking time bomb thing, where it's like he's being killed by all these forces, familial, scholastic and social, and then maybe it's like, there's a lashing out that is bound to come. Like, it feels like there's danger on all sides, it feels like. But by the end, it was like, I felt like voices in his head were being like literally represented by the song, almost like lapping itself multiple times. And then it became this cacophony, both rhythmically and melodically. So it felt like maybe that would be the head state of someone who's been treated this way. But I was interested by the line about the real bruises. And I don't know if it was saying like emotional or like psychological, but it seemed to be suggesting they weren't physical bruises, but the ones that were inflicted are the ones that really hurt. So again, maybe that's something that's drawn from personal experience. I know people have mentioned that, like, Mark, and his father, I think in particular, had, let's say, a strained relationship. So I do wonder there. But either way, it does feel like something where people growing up, and I, again, in so many ways, I feel like I was very lucky. Like, I came from an environment where no one, in my family was like listening to punk rock or whatever. I found my way to that, and I started to make my own choices about what I was doing in my life as early as like 13 and 14. And my parents basically let it happen. Not that they didn't necessarily at one point or another say, oh, I'm disappointed, like whatever. But they just, they were allowing me to become the person I would become. So, number one, I'm eternally thankful for that. But also, I know that compared to so many other people and in so many ways, I did not have that type of stifling, restrictive environment. Now, don't get me wrong, there were times where when I started to, like, not care so much about high school, it was like senioritis, but it sort of started my junior year. And part of it is I was going to techno parties and so on. And my parents were basically connected the two. It's like, oh, you going to these overnight dance parties or whatever is why you're messing up in school. And there was a like, hey, we don't want you to go to these anymore. And there were times where I was like, all right, anyway, I'm going to go over to so-and-so's house, and I go to a techno party, and oops, I would get found out in some way. So there was, there were issues along the way, but my home life was, I think, very tranquil compared to someone who, would write a song like this. So, it feels like a very intense emotion that's building up over the course of the song. I just don't quite know if like the killing is motion toward, or perhaps eventually motion against, or back in the other direction. Either way, it's just another, and it reminds me, like, part of the sonics also were giving me a bit of that feeling I had when I listened to Frustration, which again remains arguably my favorite soft cell song. I just can't get past it. I love every part of it. But there was a bit of that here where there's like this raw, like fast energy. Like it really had this, post-punk is the wrong word, but it had this real sort of grittiness to both the tempo and the sonic attitude, and yet, like I said, embedded within that was a bit of this, sing-songy, let's all kind of dance in synchronization, Motown feel. So I don't know if anyone will agree with anything of what I've just said, but I do tend to ramble when I hear a track that really hits me. So I think we can take that as a positive. Luke is just like, whatever, man, I'm going back to sleep. So let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.